Alright, I got a couple different things for you today. First, I have a brief aside that I have to share with you. Next, I want to talk about quote-unquote technology. I want to share something beautiful with you after that, and then I want to share something helpful with those of you who are on the fence, because I don't believe it's too late yet. I've seen something rather disturbing happen after Jeff passed. Nobody is happy that Jeff passed, or at least most of us aren't. Most of us have the common sense to not try to go and gobble up Jeff's personal information, and beyond that, most of us have the common sense and decency to not harass Jeff's family. However, there are people that don't. Do you remember the whole thing about the Aztecs or whoever wearing another person's skin like a jacket? You know how in cannibal lore, you eat somebody and get their power? You know how in Catholic communion, you eat what is supposedly the body and blood of Christ and yada yada yada? Well, after Jeff passed, some genuine people made videos expressing their condolences and doing their part to memorialize him and contribute to his memory. But there's a subsection of people who sit there and want to grabble up his personal information, who are harassing his family, who let their paranoia and delusion lead them, and therefore spread lies and deception, who reject the facts that they are presented with. And there are people who get together in these gross little shameless cubbies in the form of Discord servers, where they sit there and they all bandy about Jeff's personal information and sit there and then have the gall to crap on other people for not making contrived videos in order to get clicks and shekels while pretending to care about Jeff. And apparently it irks some of these people that I'm not participating in it. So if you're one of those people, man, you're something else. But anyway, yeah, I haven't made a video about Jeff's passing. And you know what? I'm not going to. The way I deal with Jeff passing is between God, myself, and no one else. If I don't mourn publicly in a way that these hyenas and jackals approve of, and it irritates them, then let me tell you, it's an honor to not be among them. Do you think it's bothersome that a vulture does not consider me a friend? Oh boy, how shameful of me. Quickly, let me drink some of Jeff's spiritual blood. Give me that communion wafer made out of Jeff. Yeah, let me try on that skin. I want an Aztec jacket, the memory of Jeff. And that maybe I'll get a couple clicks and shekels for it too. But you know, I'm doing a totally selfless thing. Blow me. And that being out of the way, that ugliness being out of the way, I hope Jeff rests in peace, and I hope you people stop mangling the memory of him and having a banquet over his spirit. Is this to say that anyone that made a statement or video about Jeff's passing is one of these types? No, not at all. But nonetheless, what I have seen reminds me of a story from my past. When I was much younger, one of my pets that I loved dearly passed away, and as I was weeping and digging a hole for it, a shallow grave, I remember my father coming up to me and telling me to make sure that I dig that hole deep. And at the time, I didn't really understand why he told me that, but I know now. It's because he didn't want the body to get dug up by predators. And you know what? When a person does that kind of thing, they don't call it predation. They don't say it's just for survival. They call it grave robbing. And apparently, there's more than one way to do it. So anyway, in one of my videos recently, I talked about this concept of technology, and I said that who said it has to resemble what we know as technology? Well, as you know, recently I've been talking about how people are worshipping the golden boy, Donald Trump. I'm not even exaggerating, I mean straight up worship. These people are calling him the second coming, the first coming, the voice of God, the trumpet of God. They're saying he's the chosen one, and these people aren't trolling. And since I've seen this, I've been using the analogy of when Moses went up into the mountain and he left his people behind, and they just descended right back into the sort of madness and worship of false idols that they had been pulled from before. Anyway, I grew up Catholic, as a lot of you already know, and I know a few of you are Catholics yourselves. But anyway, when I was growing up and would hear about the Trinity concept, it never made sense, because it doesn't make sense. Look, there was the original event. There was Jesus and his disciples. Everything else that we have is a lesser copy of it. The Catholic Church did not exist then. That came later. You can disagree, but the way it is that the Catholic Church was the counterattack to the good thing. It was the attempt to co-opt and label and take control and distort and invert the thing that had happened. Now, is this to say that all Catholics are evil to the core? No. So don't think of this stuff that simplistically. But there will be a day when people have to choose to either follow the Vatican, to follow the Catholic Church, or to follow Christ. But that's how it is with everything. Right now, we're in a time period where people are choosing to love this world and the things in it and to hold on to that above all else, or they're choosing to let go of it because things are coming to a head. But anyway, even in my family there are some practicing Catholics, and they'll tell me things like, well, yeah, the Catholic Church weaved some pagan concepts into their stuff in order to make it more digestible to the pagans at the time. Yes, they did. And they corrupted the truth by doing so. It's a give and take. You don't get to imitate pagan holidays without becoming a little pagan yourself. Duh! I'm gonna link to this video by Brian Denlinger called The Coming Satanic Trinity. It's actually pretty fascinating that the Antichrist, or the system of it, or this whole thing, comes in a trio. Now, I know that the counterattack always comes after the good thing, and we all know that Satan is a counterfeiter. So, from the Catholic perspective, they will say, ah yes, the Satanic Trinity is an imitation of the Divine Trinity, whereas I'm saying the Trinity concept itself is an imitation of the truth, which is not necessarily a Trinity. But anyway, that's an issue for another time. In the Satanic Trinity, there is the dragon, or the anti-god, there is the beast, or the Antichrist, and there is the false prophet, the anti-spirit. There's also this concept called the triple deity, and I'm going to link to that as well, so be sure to check this stuff out. But here's something about the Satanic Trinity, in any form that it takes. The three things need a fourth item, the object of their focus, and this is where I tie this into technology. Remember Zohar Stargate, that guy I talked about in my last video? When humans start to worship an object, or even a person, or the idea of something, they have just created a portal, essentially. And you will find that on the other side of that portal, of that Stargate, is a number of things that are always eager to take advantage of that opening. Just like how when Moses left the people in the desert, they melted down their stuff and started worshiping idols again. And behind that idol, behind all false idols, there were entities behind it. These maniacs in the Old Testament who were going around sacrificing children and animals to Moloch, they loved what they communed with or saw in the flames or heard in the screams, because it's real. I mean, a lot of people think because they've never seen this stuff, that they have no proof that it exists. And then, therefore, because of that folly, the first thing they see that's real, they're willing to worship entirely. Think of all these cult leaders who, just because they had a vision or had an experience, they buy into it unconditionally and blindly. Don't be that way. And it's gonna get freaky, because as this story comes full circle, it's not gonna be a statue that people are worshiping. No, they're gonna be worshiping something that's just as real as the forces behind that statue, but that is still a false idol. These people talking about how the aliens are gonna come here and help us? Many people are gonna see these things that have capabilities that your average human doesn't, and therefore people will worship them like gods. They'll say, after all, well look, these things are real, so how can I not be believing in the right thing? It is real. Well, so is God, and they are worshiping something other than God. But they're not going to think that. They're going to kill people, and they're going to think they're doing it in the name of God. But anyway, keep that concept in mind as we see more and more people start to worship people like Trump and worship the system. Also, keep that concept in mind for what I'm about to show you from the Vatican. And also, remember the theme here. Technology, stargates, portals, that kind of thing. Alright, so this is from a worship hall or gathering hall or something like that, somewhere in the Vatican. I'll link to it in the description. Tell me what you see there. Do you see something wholesome? Do you see something, totally innocent? Or do you see a serpent? Tell me, when Jesus would meet with the Pharisees, would he tell them that they were really cool guys and that they were worthy of being religious authorities? Or did he castigate them and berate them to the core? Tell me, does the Bible say call people father and call priests father and exalt the Pope? Or does the Bible say don't call any man your father? Is the Catholic Church more like the Pharisees or more like God? Is the Pope more like the Pharisees, or is the Pope God? If you replace a golden calf with a calf made out of platinum, is it any better? If you replace the Pharisees with a group of Romans, do you really think it's that much better? Let me tell you, I've looked into the money in the Catholic Church. I've looked at what they do with their banking, and it was disturbing. You could not tell their investments apart from that of any globalist multinational on the world scene today. And if you think that that's a divine institution, then I can't imagine what kind of God you believe in. Not only that, I know a lot of Catholics are not a fan of their current pope. Well, if you believe that your organization is a divine thing here on this earth, then I don't know why you would sit there and say, well, I don't agree with the Vatican, I don't agree with the Pope, and I don't agree with this and that and this and that, but oh yeah, I believe Catholicism is the divine church. But I know these dialectical arguments are nothing new, and frankly, it gives me a little hope then, that if these people are aware that their leadership is corrupt and they're saying that their Christianity is their rock and they won't let it go, but that it doesn't depend on the Pope and all that, then that sets the stage for a lot of them being in a church that has no buildings, which is where they will meet a number of people who've been there already for a long time who will say, it's very good to have you, we're glad to see you. Yeah, let's do this thing. So, it's not all dark, okay? But anyway, in the giant snake worship hall in Vatican City or whatever, they have this image behind the Pope chair, and it's supposed to be Jesus like flying up out of the ashes and flames of a nuclear war. You know, lovely imagery, which I guess is permitted if you just straight up remove the commandment that says no graven images, because, you know, if the Bible says don't create imagery of things that are divine, well, just get rid of that. And I mean, I guess if the Bible says like worship none before me, or, you know, don't call any man father, whatever. I mean, we call our dads father, so I mean, the priest is the father, so I'll call him the father. And I mean, like, I guess, like, you know, like the Pope is divine or whatever, God in the flesh. I mean, maybe he is God. I mean, maybe I should worship him, you know. Yeah, okay. You see, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Anyway, if you mirror the image, if you take half of it right down the middle and flip the other side or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, mirroring, inversion, and all that stuff, you get this. Alright, so to tie this all together, what did I say at the start of the video? That I was going to link to Brian Denlinger's Coming Satanic Trinity video, and he was talking about the following: how there's the dragon, which is the anti-god, the beast, which is the antichrist, and the false prophet, which is the anti-spirit. Wow, look, there they are. Oh yeah, Faceless? Well, I want to know where the golden calf is. Oh. Yeah, there is the golden calf, at least one of them for now, or a part of it. I was talking about technology and stargates and stuff, and when you think about it, most objects are a sort of technology. We're dealing with stuff that deals with higher dimensions. The things above us, both demonic and angelic, I think they come from a higher dimension than us. And then above all of that is God, and there is no equal. You might think I'm pulling this out of my butt, but for instance, how many of you have had nightmares, like sleep paralysis, where you wake up and maybe you see something come out of the walls or the floors? I mean, I've seen stuff like that. Heck, I remember a long time ago, one of you left a comment saying that you once were awake and saw a demon coming out of the wall in front of you or something like that. Mr. Ballin, a very popular and much more successful YouTuber than myself, even talks about how he had these experiences at a cabin, where 3 nights in a row, this thing came into the cabin, stomped around, made a bunch of noise, walked into the room he was in, and then sunk into the floor. Remember the story in, I think it was John, where when after Jesus had been crucified, the guys are sitting there in a room with it all locked, and I guess the windows boarded up or whatever, and they're scared, and then Jesus appears before them without passing through the walls or the door or the ceiling or the floor. According to Chuck Missler, he said that there was a study done, and mathematically, in order to be able to do something like that, you would have to be working with 11 dimensions. And I thought that was very interesting, because when string theory and membrane theory, or ideas about multiple membranes of the universe, was first becoming mainstream, it was said that it was theorized that the ultimate number of dimensions in the universe was 11. And then if you think about how people have all these dreams and experiences with demonic or evil or questionable entities that come through the walls or the floor, that indicates that they're of a higher dimension than us, but not of equal footing with Jesus and stuff like that, which is how it would be. Anyway, there's more I wanted to say, but I need to get this video over with. One of my online homies, a person I've never actually met, seems to be coming around, and I gotta say, with all the separation of the wheat and the tare, with all the delusion going around, with all the rejection of truth and God, it's really nice to see somebody giving it a shot and heading in that right direction. Means it's not too late to bring others into the fold, which is a good thing. So keep this person in your thoughts, homies. There are people who believe, without ever having to get into the nitty-gritty or the fine mechanics of this stuff, But myself and this homie I'm talking about aren't like that. It was only through seeing how, first, reality was paralleling stuff in biblical prophecy, and then seeing the truth within the stuff that I was hearing, that's what made me turn to it. And a similar thing's going on with this person. They have a very analytical, critical mind, and even they are seeing the truth in this stuff. And they're coming to a lot of the same conclusions that I came to before I got to where I am today. And you guys know how it is. Nothing makes as much sense as it will once you open yourself up to this stuff, you know, to the big guy. So I hope the same thing will happen to you, homie. And I believe in you, and I know that the big guy believes in you. So take that leap. You won't regret it. And lastly, I said I wanted to try to do something that might help people that are on the fence. Look, I know how it is. You don't want to buy into something without understanding it. I mean, if you do so, then you're just endorsing something disingenuously. I don't want you to do that. Nobody wants you to do that. If you want to dive into the real nitty-gritty and the mechanics of this stuff, there are people who are smarter and better educated and more knowledgeable than myself who do just that. One of these people was named Chuck Missler. He's unfortunately no longer with us. I'm going to provide some links to his material in the description. If you're interested in space and time, quantum mechanics, if you want to know why it is that people like me say there's no such thing as aliens, but that they are instead fallen angels, if you want to hear a concept like the rapture explained in one of the most logical and calm and neat ways that can be done, this guy can do it. So check it out. If you're wondering why it is that people believe this stuff so fervently, but you are yet to understand why that's so, it's because, well, for one, it's real. But if those answers that you need in order to take that leap and actually start believing haven't been provided to you yet, perhaps you should seek them. And either way, perhaps nobody has provided them to you. So hopefully for some of you more big-brained types and people who are more, analytical or critical, hopefully some of this stuff will answer your questions. So as always, thanks for watching, and remember, it's not too late to reach new people. At least, I don't think it is. So till next time, homies.